If you were born between June 21st to July 22nd, you should probably watch this because this video is about you. So let's talk about cancers real quick. Cancers. Everyone knows Cancer, the crybaby of the zodiac, or the mother. It's interesting they have those two archetypes, and that's a good start. You see, Cancer is all about caring, nourishing, sustaining, and things like that. And so from the maternal end, Cancers have this nurturing, nourishing tendency to want to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves, whether that's someone who is ill, an elderly person, a disabled person, or even a baby, a child. Cancers have this innate nature to want to help those who cannot help themselves. Cancers are very heart-centered. They're very caring, loving, and nurturing, rather, I should say. The thing is, though, Cancers may not be that aggressive. They may not have all the capacities or all the abilities needed to defend and protect themselves. They're not really offensive. They're more likely to take things than to gush it back. If someone attacks a Cancer, they're more likely to retreat and retrieve and seek for protection and defense rather than offense. They don't really have claws. What they do, but they don't use them often. They're lovers and they're caring, and they don't like confrontation. They would rather endure, first and foremost, and secondly, they don't directly confront things. They're more passive aggressive, and they would rather go around a situation in a scenario rather than and another thing about Cancers is their inner world is very rich. Their inner dialect, because they're very much reactive. They're continuously reacting to their environment, to the things that are going on around them. So their inner world, their inner voice, and everything like that is very rich. But it's not just a voice; it's emotion. It's emotions also. So as a Cancer, it is very important for you to resolve the affairs of your inner world, your emotions, your heart, and things like that. Cancer possesses, it's like steam. You guys possess a lot of energy, and it may come through the channel of emotions, and you must learn to channel that. Because ironically, Cancer, like the zodiac sign, and Cancer, the disease, have the commonality that if you are if you're emotionally corrupt, for lack of a better term, and what I mean by that is if you have so much so many heavy emotions inside of you that you don't know what to do with, that you've kind of just got comfortable with, that you know what I'm saying, things like that, then those emotions start to consume you. You want to think this is what happens when you feel an emotion. You release certain hormones inside of you that make you feel a certain way. Certain emotions that are harmful, like fear, stress, etc., release cortisol alongside other destructive chemicals or hormones inside of your body. You know what I'm saying? So as a person who is emotionally charged, a Cancer, etc., you may find yourself eventually leading to illnesses and diseases because of your inner world, your inner lifestyle. You need to learn to work on cultivating your emotional world, the way that you feel. And it's very important to assess and observe your upbringing. And with that being said, I want to say sometimes when it comes to our upbringing, we may think, oh, I had a good upbringing because certain things which are considered bad were not present. But sometimes you may not have had a good upbringing because certain things were missing also. Just because you grew up and you were sheltered, everything was met for you, you were taken care of, maybe there were lackings in the area of emotional nourishment and sustenance. Maybe there wasn't a space growing up where it was a safe emotional space for you to share emotions and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So when I say upbringing, because a lot of people will disregard their upbringing and think like, oh yeah, my upbringing, it was nothing. But it's always worth looking into your upbringing and seeing what it is that you have that was instilled from your upbringing and what it is that you lack that you should probably, as an adult with more wisdom, work on investing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so back to cancers. They are very much, yeah. So I was talking about the cancer aspect of things, the disease and then the sign. So yeah, your emotions are very important, and your emotions can be a source, a fountain of life, of youth even. But that's a whole other story. You feel what I'm saying? And so yes, as a Cancer, you want to become more emotionally invested, more aware of your emotions. Start to write them down and realize that a lot of your emotions, they may be outdated. They may be things that you are claiming because the familiar aspect of things, the desire to want to cling on to things that you are aware of because they feel safe. But the problem with that is that just because you're comfortable with something and it feels familiar, it might just be oof. You guys see my ear? I got bit yesterday by a wasp. Yeah, anyways, I was being too friendly with the wasp. There were 2 wasps, and then like they bit me. Speaking of which, cancers. Cancers, they're the type to think, like everyone is their friend, but it's okay. A Cancer is not like a Pisces, right? Cancers are not going to in a sense approach you and start socializing with you or anything like that. They're very quiet and very reserved, but it's like, I guess more so, honestly, I can't even speak on this because Cancers are not really typically social. But when I say they think everyone's their friend, I more want to say like there can be like this naivety where it's like, if someone can make you feel like, they can be easily emotionally manipulated, because they may not always go based on logic and rationality and data that was collected from their experiences. You go through things, you assess, you analyze a person, you collect information. Cancers, they may more so act based on how they feel. They may act based on how they feel. And so this can cause issues in the sense of like attracting people that may not have their best interests. But not only that, like because of that feeling aspect, it being important, a lot of Cancers may find themselves in a position where they may be lacking ambition, having self-doubt and things like that, and not fully going in with like the things they want in life, because they rely a lot upon their feelings as a compass. And the thing about the feelings is, you may not always feel, one, you may not always feel like doing something, and 2, your feelings are always changing and shifting. So feelings are not a good compass for life, because sometimes you have to put your emotions aside and just do something for the sake of like stability, responsibility, structure, because it's just reality. And with that being said, Cancers may not be the best when it comes to setting boundaries, nor may they be the most stable. Okay, so when I say stable, right, like a lot of Cancers pursue money, but because of the physical security, like they don't care about the money itself, but they want the emotional security that comes with the money, right? So a lot of Cancers pursue money, but for more so for the reason of that aspect of security. But internally though, that's where like the instability may be going on. Not only that, it's like home life. Home life is very important, and home life is where balance needs to be brought forth and had. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So yeah. That may be a thing too. Stability. But the good thing though is Cancers, they're very generous, they're very giving, whether that's giving of their time, giving of their emotions, like compassion, love, things like that. They're very generous, and they have like a heart of gold, in the sense that they kind of see the good in everyone. And it's like the maternal art aspect, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was explaining, like, oh, Cancer, they may think everyone's their friend, but then I got into this whole thing because Cancers are not really social like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they can have this very charitable, giving, merciful type of energy about them. But yeah, that's Cancer. They are like the source of like energetically, like, I'm not even talking about the sign right now, but energetically, like, to truly sustain and nourish your life force, you would want to tap into that Cancer energy, which makes sense, right? Because Cancer is about nurturing and taking care of. So yeah, but yeah, they are a force of nature for sure. 100%. What else can I say about Cancer? Cancers belong to like the personal series. Like, what I mean by that is, like, their energy is more cultivated towards the I feel. Like, we have the I am. I mean, like, when I say I feel, like, feelings and how I feel is a very personal first perspective energy. So yes, Cancers are more so orientated towards the feelings and experiencing life through, and creating identity through emotions, through how they feel and how they're made feel, things like, you know what I'm saying, things like that. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but yeah, you guys, this is pretty much the video for Cancer. It's Cancer season, so shout out to all of you Cancers out there about to have your birthdays, things like that. And yeah, with that being said, I'll say one thing I usually don't say. I offer deeper breakdowns, into the natal chart. And if you're interested in, having a better understanding of yourself through the guide of the stars, then I'm more than happy to help you. Just reach out to me and we'll talk on the phone first, because I personally have to ensure that it makes sense for us to work together, that you know what you're getting yourself into, everything like that. So yeah, if you want, you can book a free phone call with me to learn more about my services. Other than that, peace, love, and wholeness.